last speaker. I'm also glad to introduce you to a man who is the senior partner in McKinsey's Abu Dhabi office. He joined them in 1996. That was a long time back. And he is the managing partner for McKinsey's infrastructure practice in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. He is the managing partner for the firm's operations and capital project practice in Eastern Europe, Turkey, the Middle East, and Africa. Please welcome Mr. Nicklas Garemo.
So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank you for the opportunity to talk here. It's a great privilege to be here this morning. The topic of my presentation is, the role of PPP in addressing global infrastructure challenges, and I'll try to take you through essentially three key topics over the next 25 minutes or so. One, let me talk a little bit about the global infrastructure pipeline and what PPPs can do in meeting that financing need. Two, I'll talk a bit about the global industry's challenges, and again, what can be done to address those challenges, including, what PPPs can do. And third, what can countries, states, cities do to get going on improving their performance in infrastructure delivery. Just before I get into that, just sort of 15 seconds on what McKinsey is. I think a lot of people sort of know us as a strategy house. We spent the past sort of 5–10 years building up a fairly significant presence in the infrastructure space, to the point that today, if you take emerging markets, major project work is probably like 10, 15, 20% of all work. So that's a fairly significant shift away from strategy to actual operations, where we do everything from design to value, project purchasing, new construction. Anyhow, so let me just sort of start by looking a little bit at the global infrastructure scene. First of all, this industry is a $9 trillion industry a year. Roughly a third of that, is focused on what I think, traditional, in a more narrow definition, we call infrastructure, right? Transport, power, water, and telecom. Roughly a third comes from social infrastructure, that's hospitals, prisons, other kinds of public sector buildings, etc., oil and gas and mining, and about 4 trillion comes from real estate. If you look at the red circle, that part was 3.8% of global GDP last year, 3.8%. At the same time, globally, it's very clear that in the West, the infrastructure has been deteriorating. We have not been investing as much as we should have done. And in emerging markets, a lot of emerging markets are actually not, or have not been investing enough to keep up with growth, urbanization, and the demand of the population. So, in that area, over the last 20 years, $35 trillion were invested. If you play the movie forward, and you look over the next 20 years, the estimate is that another $60 trillion will have to be invested into transport, power, water, and telecom over the next 20 years. In light of that, obviously, the financing needs are huge. And there are also significant challenges when it comes to financing. First of all, we've seen budget cuts on infrastructure over the past couple of years globally by the tone of 10%. We've seen banks and financial institutions becoming a lot more risk averse. And if you go back before 2008, when you were financing a road project, you could have an 85 to 15%, 85-15 debt equity ratio. Now it's 60-40. And another thing that also makes financing of the $60 trillion that I spoke about more challenging is that the project pipeline is shifting significantly from established markets in North America and Europe to Middle East, South America, Africa, Asia. And it's shifting from brownfield, which are fairly predictable, to more greenfield, which is a lot more unpredictable and therefore have higher risks from a financial point of view. So, so there are also significant headwinds when it comes to financing the huge infrastructure need over the next couple of years. Having said that, some countries have been very, very successful in using PPPs to actually meet their infrastructure needs. So if you take the UK, India, etc., 20-25% of what they have been building has actually been through PPP schemes over the past 10 years. At the global level, though, I think it's important just to recognize that the global number is probably more, somewhere between 3 and 5%. And even more importantly, if you look at how much money is actually available. So again, 20 years, $60 trillion. Remember that number. If you look, you sort of take my base case here. If you take and you say that all the pension funds, life insurance funds, and sovereign wealth funds, if they achieve their target allocation of infrastructure over the next 20 years, that amounts to $2.4 trillion compared to the 60, which is significant. So PPPs, are important. It's part of the equation, but PPPs will not solve the global infrastructure challenge. Having said that, I think there is also some good news here. We're seeing a lot of, if you take today the life plans, they allocate 1%. You take pension plans, they only allocate 3% to infrastructure. You take sovereign wealth funds, they allocate 7% on average. We're seeing a shift that they're actually starting to allocate more into infrastructure. And we're also seeing that these funds are starting to take on more risk. So maybe my numbers are conservative. Maybe we'll end up in the high case, when they start allocating more into this space. I think it's just important to get the orders of magnitudes right. 60 trillion is the need. Right now, there's 2.4 trillion available. Maybe it might go up to 4 or 5. That's not it. So, what's then the real issue if we are to meet the global infrastructure challenges going forward? So first of all, when you look at the challenges, there are a couple that are very big ones, which I think everyone in this room is aware of. Biased project selection, our bridges to nowhere, poor project delivery. 80% of road projects in India are delayed due to land acquisition rules. 20% of all road projects globally go over time and budget. 35% of all tunnel projects go over time and budget. More than half of billion-dollar plus projects go over both time and cost budgets. So execution is a huge issue. Maintenance or bias towards new investments. There was a study recently in Africa which looked at African roads and concluded that if Africa had invested $12 billion into road maintenance, they could have avoided $45 billion of reconstruction costs. And this is obviously a political decision how you allocate funds, whether it goes into building new stuff or maintaining the old stuff. And I had a meeting with the Minister of Health in a GCC country recently who was starting to question the whole build-out pipeline, because he was saying, I'm building all these hospitals, but I don't have maintenance procedures in place to actually maintain what I already have. So those are some clear issues. The other one is productivity. This industry does not, unlike the rest of the economy, it does not appear to become better over time. So the input, the productivity of every man-hour that goes into this industry, whereas it's been going up significantly, you see the numbers for North America and Germany. In the rest of the economy, the productivity has just been going up and up and up year on year. In infrastructure, it's been either flat or actually decreased. So the industry, and there are some notable exceptions, for instance, when it comes to power plants, etc., where you have a fairly standardized design, you can roll it down in large numbers. But as an industry, this industry does not appear to become better over time. So you're repeating the same mistakes. What is that? Well, there are at least two major reasons. The first one is incentives. And a lot of the players that operate in this industry actually aren't incentivized to build cheaper, better, faster. The whole structure is actually one of cost plus and multiple layers, which means that very few people at the top who might be building an airport for the first time or a major bridge for the first time, they're the only people who actually incentivize. Everyone else who knows how to do it, particularly not incentivized, to really drive down the cost. But let me come back to PPPs, because I think this is where PPPs can actually play a role in changing the game quite significantly. The other issue, major issue, is one of transparency. And it's transparency as to what are the true best practices, but also what should things cost. So I had the Minister of Transport in a country recently asked me 3 very simple questions. He said, my projects, are they more costly than similar projects in other countries? You know, if they're more costly, why is that? And 3, what should I do about it? And then we started digging into trying to get some cost comparisons. And it's very interesting what you find. So first of all, the first issue is there's very little data. That's an issue one. Right? And if you can't measure, you can't manage. But when you start looking across asset classes, this is indexed, right? So when you look across for roads, and you look at the cost per square meter of road, and you start looking at that, in country 1 here, it costs 2.5 times as much as in country 4. These countries are not very far away. You look at rail and metro, and the cost per linear kilometer. And there the delta, was more 3 to 4. And at airports, the delta was somewhere 3 to 5. And you start asking yourself, why is it that the cost differences can be that? I think it starts with 2 issues that I mentioned. 1, incentives, and 2, transparency. It took us like 2 months just to dig out the numbers and try to get the reasonably comparable. The global scale doesn't exist, which is a big problem. Anyhow, so what can actually be done about this? The good thing is that globally, we actually know how to fix the infrastructure. So, McKinsey spent 2 years trying to assemble best practices across countries equivalent to, I think, 95% of global GDP. And then we tried to, for each of these best practices, to assess what's the financial impact of that best practice on infrastructure delivery. And we've come up with something like, somewhere between 50 and 100 best practices globally. And I realize this is a completely theoretical exercise, but if you took the global best practices and you applied them consistently across the world, we could actually deliver the same infrastructure with 40% less money. So by not innovating at all, just picking the best parts of what is already out there and implementing them in the average country can deliver the same infrastructure with 40% less cost. I find that valuable. And the benefits or the levers fall into 3 major buckets. The first one is fact-based project selection, making sure that your infrastructure delivery plan is in line with socioeconomic objectives. 2, that there is a system-wide master plan where you actually do prioritization across regions and across asset classes. That there is a very fact-based evaluation of all the projects. On average, if you do that, you can take out almost 10% of your budget. Both Chile and South Korea, when they standardized and centralized decision-making on projects, they managed to take down average project overrun, or reduce average project overruns by 2/3. All of a sudden, as opposed to when in the decentralized model, only 3% of projects were rejected. When they centralized it and they had standardized evaluation against, agreed upon criteria, then 40% of projects were rejected because they just did not meet the socioeconomic criteria. Second, streamlined delivery. Huge bucket. Includes everything from how do we make sure that we have, effective supply markets, both when it comes to construction companies and construction materials. How do we make sure that we have good value assurance processes? How do we make sure that we have efficient land acquisition and permitting processes and issue resolution processes? How do we make sure that we have stage gate processes? How do we work with lean construction? How do we standardize design across our portfolios? None of this is rocket science, but very few implement it in a consistent way across the portfolio. Third major bucket, making the most of what you have. Before you build, make sure you use what you have. So again, if I go back to this Minister of Health discussion, we're building a huge amount of hospitals. Utilization in the current hospitals are 50 to 60%. And what we saw in terms of best practices was that in a number of countries, one of the first questions they asked themselves when they evaluate the project is there anything we can do with the existing infrastructure to make sure we can avoid this investment at all? 2, can we use pricing to manage demand? You know, toll roads, things like that, changing electricity prices from the day to the night to balance demand. Can we use education? I think Dubai, etc., for instance, and Abu Dhabi right now are using a lot of communication around the use of water. It's a fabulous way of reducing water. You educate the population to change their behaviors, and therefore you reduce the need to increase infrastructure. Maintenance, again, maintaining what you have, making sure that you don't have huge reconstruction costs. Just replicating these global best practices again could reduce the investment need by 40%. And there are 2 other enablers which we looked at. One is infrastructure governance and capabilities, and the other one is having a robust funding and finance framework. And infrastructure governance and capabilities, that covers everything from having laws, regulations, policies in place to make sure that there isn't corruption, to making sure that there is data on what things should cost. But it also includes things like building up, the next generation of engineers, making sure that we have good project managers in the country, making sure that we attract the right kind of players into this space. Robust funding and finance, I'll come back to. But let me just sort of illustrate one point on the governance and capabilities. Given that this is a project management forum, I thought I'd just make an illustration. So, for 2 clients, I've done this study, and I apologize for this chart, but if you, for this one client, over a 5-year time period, we looked at, this was a construction company, we looked at all their projects, and then we looked at the outcome of these projects to determine how successful were these projects. And then we tried to correlate it to region, asset class, sourcing model, was it design build, was it construct only, etc., etc., etc. And at some point we started to realize that there was a very strong correlation between the project performance and the individual that was actually running that project. So for this company, and on the top here you have the gross margin of all project managers they have, which over this time period delivered more than 3 projects. So we needed to sort of make sure there was reasonably comparable. And what you can see is, you can sort of see there's a fairly big distribution. But I think the interesting thing here was that the top 25 best people they had an average gross margin of 23%. The bottom quarter consistently lost money. And the interesting thing was, when you took these guys and you moved them in, from one region to the other or from one asset class to the other, they still continued to perform. So then we asked ourselves, okay, so is it that the good guys are just smarter at selecting the simple projects, right? Can they just smell out that project is going to be good and therefore I go there? That was not the issue. We compared tender margin to actual margin. And not only could we see that, the top guys on average performed, at a higher margin, but the delta between the tender margin and the actual output was also bigger for them. So not only did they, whatever project they got, they just improved it a lot better than what what these guys did. If you're then running a construction company, or if you have a large pipeline of projects that you're delivering, as a road agency, an oil company, a Ministry of Health, and something like that, obviously you need to start asking yourself a couple of questions. So first of all, do you know who those guys are? Or do you know who those guys are? In this case, they didn't. What was even worse was there was no correlation between the incentive system and the formal rating of the people and the actual performance. Second question you need to ask yourself is, of course, what can I do to replicate what these people do? Because if I can only sort of take the average guys and move them up here, I'm going to save millions. I'm going to save billions. And here I think very, very few organizations that I come across are very thoughtful and long-term when it comes to building truly excellent project management capabilities. They don't do enough in terms of attracting in the greatest talent into that field. And it's also very important to recognize that to build and become good in this field, it's not science, it's art. So you need to work with excellent people, pick up the skills over time to become good at this. But you need to have a methodology of how to do it. You need to reward the right people. And very importantly, you need to get rid of these guys. Just to make sure that this wasn't an outlier, I then replicated this study for multiple other construction companies. So in the second case, I did the same study across 10,000 projects. For one construction company, 10,000 projects over 10 years. More or less the same answer. So in that case, the top 26% of project managers, and again, every one of these guys had 10 projects minimum that they had delivered. Minimum 10 projects. This is statistically completely relevant. Those 26% of project managers had an average gross margin of 12%. The average for the company was 8. And then they had 10% of the people who had 4. Year in, year out. So this is absolutely crucial. This is a people business. And organizations who deliver projects who haven't understood that and don't have a very long-term view on how they build the capabilities are not going to achieve superior results. So, robust funding and finance. Again, we spent this sort of 2 years mapping out all the best practices. And we also did a special deep dive on PPPs across 15 different countries to understand what are truly the do's and don'ts when it comes to PPPs. And whenever I go to these conferences, there's always a lot of focus on PPP. But I think you need to think a lot more holistically about funding and finance than PPPs. So, yes, PPPs is part of this question, right? But you also need to make sure that you have stable regulation, pricing, and value capture for all your investments. How do we capture value from property? And how do we monetize ancillary services? And you build a metro for this, right? The only way to make money from a metro is actually to make it from the real estate surrounding the metro. Otherwise, you never know. So how do you think about these things? What are the regulations in place? When you actually acquire land for the metro, are you allowed to acquire enough land around it so you can build up the stations, rebuild the area around the station, because the value of the land around the station will increase hugely. How do you think about things like, capital recycling. What do you think about that? A lot of cities, governments, states, sit on huge amounts of assets. In most cases, they don't even know what they have. When you start looking at things like real estate, buildings, right? We've done studies where, the state says, I can't fund this infrastructure. And you start looking at, government institutions sitting in downtown areas in buildings that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Whereas, you have private sector people who are prepared to pay that amount to take it over. If you just shift around the government institutions to less pricey real estate, you monetize some of these assets, you can actually fund. It's just very important not to just lock in on funding, and not only to lock in on PPPs, but to think about this a lot more broadly. How do I monetize existing assets? How do I think about the funding in a more holistic way? But if we do dig into the first PPP angle, as I said, we spent we did benchmarking across 15 different countries looking at what are the do's and don'ts of PPP. and as my distinguished other speakers have said before, I think there's a broad range of, there are some successes, and there's a broad range of failures when it comes to PPP supporting. And there are a couple of things that sort of come out. First of all, this is a long-term game, and as an investor, the commitment that the government displays in terms of being serious about this, in terms of thinking about this as a partnership, not as a way to, you know, just pass on all the risk to the quote-unquote, you know, uneducated suppliers, and hopefully you can sort of try to sort of mess them up a bit. Just the mindset here, how you sort of talk about this, the commitment you show, the consistency, is just hugely important. And it's also very important that you make sure that that translates into a consistent pipeline. Having a PPP project every 10th year is not very likely to attract a large number of financial investors. Because the startup cost of getting to know the environment, getting to become comfortable with the country, with the players, is just too big. So it's just very important to have a pipeline of smaller and bigger projects across asset classes to make sure that investors can enter the market, maybe on a smaller deal, and then scale up over time. Second thing, effective governance. Also 3 things. Robust legal and institutional framework and regulations, obviously, right, is about 20-25-year deals. You need to have stability in your legal frameworks. Second, standardized models with clear parameters, effective, capable, and government institutions. When I talk to investors, one of their biggest complaints about PPPs is that they feel that they have a counterpart which doesn't understand the private sector requirements and the private sector needs for banking and business cases, and that you essentially sort of talk, you know, there's no real communication because the two parties don't trust each other and they sort of talk in different languages. So just investing into building up strong teams that get experience in doing this. In most cases, standardizing this, you don't spread it across multiple institutions, but actually having some PPP delivery units who become very good at this, who know what the investors want, is absolutely key. When it comes to execution, there are a couple of things. First of all, private sector wants to make money. It is very important that the public sector realizes that they cannot push all the risk and give the bad projects to the private sector. They simply will not take them. They need to understand what the target returns are. They need to understand that they need to be comfortable with the private sector making good returns on these deals. Otherwise, not. Transparent and robust tender processes that start and go, that change, that are not transparent, where you feel that there is no level playing field, just essentially scare away all the professional investors. These people, they operate globally, they compare countries, they go to where they can get most bang for the buck in terms of their time, investment in terms of both time and money. So this is not a local game, it's a global game. And lastly, just having effective controlling feedback process and making sure that you learn over time and that you actually avoid past mistakes. So, when we sort of talk about PPPs in this context, I think it's important to sort of just also start looking a little bit, you know, more broadly at them and saying, okay, is it the cost of capital here? Is it funding that's the real benefit? Is it cost of capital? No. When you start looking across countries, you very quickly realize that actually for most countries, it's actually cheaper to finance the projects, you know, through the budget. Because government funding costs are on balance lower than corporate funding costs. On balance. For some countries that's not the case, and then there are some very clear benefits. But on balance, it's cheaper. Particularly when you take countries in the GCC that have no money. You can also ask yourself why. But I think from our point of view, we almost see the biggest benefit of PPPs in that they align the incentives of all the players in the system to actually, you know, deliver the expected outcomes in the most time and cost-efficient manner. And again, there haven't been a lot of studies on this thing, but those that have been done, UK, Australia, etc., clearly indicate that PPP projects have, less budget overruns, less time overruns, and to the extent that people have been able to compare this, the projects also actually are more cost effective. In addition, I think there are a number of other benefits to PPPs. And that is that already in the beginning, you design for operations, you design for maintenance, you actually start managing the trade-off between the capex and the cost of operating and maintaining the asset in a lot better way than you otherwise. And so I live in Abu Dhabi, operate a lot in this region, and I think I see a lot of cases where it's a fabulous piece of infrastructure that's put in. It very, very quickly deteriorates because, the procedures for maintaining it, and so a number of those things just haven't been built into the design. And I think optimizing the cost of the infrastructure over a 20-year time period, you need to spend the time up front thinking about the 20 years, not just making sure that it looks great when you commission this asset. So why is this not happening? Well, a couple of things, right? So first of all, if you're the prime minister of a country, you're a minister, you're the head of a big agency, why don't you just do these things? It's available. A couple of things. First of all, again, there's very little transparency. Most people don't know what the levers are. You don't know what the financial implications are, etc. So this is the reason why we as McKinsey started, we developed a tool for actually doing 4 things for a complete system. So one is sort of looking a little bit at what's the starting point of the system in terms of what has it been achieving in terms of quality, availability, asset value, plan. Looking at the effectiveness of the delivery system across the 5 dimensions I mentioned. And here it goes into the working procedures, benchmarking, the company, the ministry, the country. Looking at how do they work with all these different procedures and how do they stack up against best practice. So we have like an evaluation tool now where we can compare, for instance, Dubai or Germany or Ministry of Health in the country against global best practices to see what are the gaps, where are you good, where are you less good. And then also looking at your per output parameters, saying when you build a road, do you do it more or less cost efficiently than your neighbor? And then of course, most importantly, getting the improvement in place. And we now roll this out across some 10 different countries globally, and we're sort of taking this to country after country after country. And this is just, obviously sort of a very messy chart, spider chart, but this was done for Sweden and Denmark, which are neighbors, it's been one country, if you go back 20 kilometers apart, very similar. And still you find fairly big differences in terms of the starting point, performance, etc. And therefore also in terms of what the key levers are. And again, I think the point is just, if you're running a company with a big pipeline, state, city, this is very important to actually establish, to understand the starting point, what the key levers are, and to design this transformation roadmap. Because at the end of the day, globally, just to sum it up, like $60 trillion needed for the narrow infrastructure definition. Funding and finance is going to become more difficult over the next couple of years. PPPs can help, is only part of the answer. The real issue here is the fact that all of us, on average, are not performing very well when it comes to delivery of infrastructure. On average, globally, obviously exceptions. On average, we don't improve, we're not performing very well. If we only take what's already out there, nothing new, just find the golden nuggets from country X, institution Y, piece it together into my environment, I can deliver, on average, a 40% less resources. And the methodology is now in place to actually